Today is the 8th of September 2016. It's the early hours of the morning. We are 55 minutes in. This talk is about a master plan started in 1066 and will reach its conclusion by 2020, preceded by 4 years of culling most human beings on planet Earth. The killing starts in September 2016 now and will be completed by 2020 in 4 years. September 2016 sees the arrival of the saturate state, being 800 years and 8 months since the Magna Carta was forced on Britons in 1215. August 2016 is the arrival of the saturate state. 2020 is in 4 years and is 805 years since 1215. The master plan started in 1066 and reaches its conclusion in 2020, 950 years later, and shortly after the culling that starts in September 2016 and will take 4 years. 2020 is the year a master plan to take control of planet Earth and all that exists upon it reaches its conclusion, having totally eradicated most humanoids and the natural way of life on planet Earth. The next 4 years will see all the remaining humans that have no relevance culled on planetary mass. Utopia has now been built and is awaiting your death. August 2016 is the last month of a master plan that started a very long time ago. The month of September 2016 through to 2020 will see Armageddon induce a nuclear winter. Britain and the whole planet was finally taken over in 1066 and forced into total servitude in 1215 with the introduction of the new rules, the Magna Carta. This was when the original families and bloodlines were killed off and replaced with the ruling classes that you have now. Several times over, global society has been destroyed along with all the older people, leaving the younger people alive to be raised in a totally new way of life. And this has happened many times, and how the global society you have now was created. September 2016 is the start of the new world and the last time that this is to happen. The new world constitutes new rules, and a new way of life. Over the past 3 months since, say, May 2016, the wealthy and celebrity types have been moving to the other side of the planet en masse at the precise moment a 950-year master plan to take total control of the world comes to its conclusion with the mass culling of all humanoids and all life on planet Earth. The plan is to start the world again, and in order to do that you have to kill everything first. Absolute worst case scenario is that the rulers are going to start Armageddon in September 2016 or shortly after the politicians return from their summer break. a chain reaction, hydrogen bomb or bombs, and nuclear winter are in process now, and your reality. At this moment, nuclear winter is imminent. Now I have three sources of information that have told me that there will not be nuclear war, but there will be massive amounts of radiation, and most people on planet Earth will die. War will most definitely break out at some point on the northern hemisphere very soon, and will induce a nuclear winter that will consequently kill most people on planet Earth. I can only guess when this will realise itself to the global general public. This talk, it's not about history or righteousness. It's about the reality that young people have been burdened with, and how you can flip this situation in order to save your life, as you are all dead people walking at this moment in time. It's over. It really is. So it's regarding true history, this podcast is the best it gets. As look, your life is relying on you not knowing true history. I am talking to the young people there. So, this talk is really to explain and how you've been cheated, or at least what the over 55s have been up to, and the reality of their selfish conduct. And I obviously need to explain that there is a master planning process, and this is part of my talk. So I will jump into a couple of different subjects, and I will also explain, or attempt to explain human or humanoid colour and physicality, origin. I'll explain where that comes from, or where people have originated from. So I'll jump into maybe 2 or 3 subjects. I'll try my best to make sense. It's difficult to articulate my thoughts. I find it difficult too. But anyway, I'll crack on. So the young people of now, they've been cheated. You have been cheated and lied to over and over again. And now, you may actually stand to benefit from ignorance, as the over 55 and homeowner types are about to be forced into paying back their debt. So moving on to just maybe explain a few things to you, a few facts, I was there, remember? I was there in the old days when these older people started getting free money. I witnessed people turn from really nice, caring people to absolute greedy bastards. There's no other way of putting it. Young people, listen, there never was any natural house price increases. It was all fake. The older generations did not live through the war. They was taken to the countryside in order to preserve the workers, to build the world you have in front of you now. And they never see any bombs shot off. It's all nonsense. They never see anyone shot or even die as a consequence of the Second World War. It's all nonsense. It really is. The over 55s, these people, they were raised to be spoiled, selfish and overly loved. Consequently, producing people that have never grown up and matured into adults worthy or capable of making decisions that consider the younger generations that come behind them. The world you have now, the world you have now in front of you, right, that needed to be built. The babies and children who were born then built it. Do you know? And they had to be paid off with products and services made and produced by immigrants and young people living in slave-like conditions. Money and precious metals, is for trade. And there's no connection to manufacturing or the production of anything. It's just nonsense. The world you have in front of you, it was built between, say, the end of the war, the end of World War II, say 1950-ish, young people, and the year of 85, just 35 odd years. Now, they built it with no money. There was no economy, so there was no money. Profit comes from people spending their wages on rent, food and clothes and broomsticks, basically. You know, people had no money after the war. There was no economy. There was no jobs. There was no nothing. And somehow the planet has managed to build in 35 years, starting with no money, remembering that tax comes from profit made from people's wages after they've been at work. It's minute. And they've managed to build like nuclear power stations, just hydroelectric power stations, dams, laboratories, space stations, rockets. The whole fucking planet has been filled with brand new planes and trains and stations and buses and cars and hospitals and universities and ships. We got nuclear powered aircraft fucking carriers, and we got an amazing infrastructure, motorways, and on top of that, 20 years of war and an army of scientists and engineers, and all of these things hang off the back of the profit made from the general public buying potatoes, tomatoes and fucking broomsticks over the space of 35 years. It's the profit made on that stuff and then the tax made on the profit. It's absurd nonsense. It's unbelievable. Do you know, look, all life, no exceptions, comes into being on demand and is designed relative to the situation, and so is unable to use or gather more than its physicality is able to, proving that evolution would not exist if profit was real and consequently amounts to slavery. Free money don't exist, mate. Simple as that. There was always going to be a payback, and that payback is the younger people that come after. We've been niggered off, mate, over and over again by our own parents and grandparents. It's as simple as that, mate. The over 55s, they have totally given up responsibility for parenting their young, and have not once in my whole life taken any steps whatsoever to address or challenge absolutely anything. Let alone anything related to the younger generations. We're their offspring, mate. We're their children. You know, and they've never made any attempt to share some of that free money, mate. Do you know what I mean? Simple as that. So they have left the younger generations a totally upside down world, and now threaten the future of all life on the planet with their carbon nourishment addiction. Everything they do, mate. They've got to spend, don't they? So they have become complete arseholes in 35 years. As you will see very soon, the over 55s and the homeowner type generally, they will walk straight on by a young person starving or dying on the streets as long as house prices keep rising. That's all they give a damn about, mate. It really is. They are obsessed. These people, the over 55s, they were raised by people that lived in absolute poverty, but yet believed in community and their own kind. They have totally disregarded their own parents' way of life and past as being worthless and bearing no relevance to the post-war modern world of fucking the 60s and the 70s. It's a joke, mate. Unbelievable. The year of 1985 was when society changed. The over 55s, they relinquished their responsibility for everything, mate, lost in a haze of free money. Do you know, look, in the late 60s and 70s, Britain collapsed. They just rebuilt Britain with no money and needed more free money. So they just decided to print it, literally. That's where the money came from then. This is when the over 55s let go of absolutely everything their parents believed in, developing nothing less than an addiction to self-indulgence, consciously choosing to live on money that they knew was going to be the responsibility of the younger generations to pay off, and have never actually accepted their quality of life. Now is a tangible burden on the younger fucking generations. Never accepted it. On a daily basis, they don't connect these North Face jackets and holiday homes in Cornwall and their free flat screen TVs. They don't connect it to the debt that the younger generations are burdened with. The over 55s, they are obsessed and addicted to free money, literally, like an addict, yeah? Their logic is non-existent, and they will ultimately fall flat on their face before they realise their behaviour and conduct over the past 35 years is the cause of the issues they and we have now. It's all down to them. 99% of these homeowners have no way of being able to acquire the wealth that they have, and never did. And now have acted like spoiled little children, unable to accept the society that they have built and what actually supports their free life. The immigrants, yeah, and the young people, they supply the over 55s with their quality of life, as everything they buy or use is made and supplied to them by young people and immigrants. And they want to stop immigrants coming here. So I asked the question, yeah? Who is going to do the jobs the immigrants do? We got 35 years of intertwining immigrants into British society. That's untwinable. You cannot reverse engineer time itself. Trying to fix the unfixable is the trait of a child, and acceptance is that of a responsible adult. These are immature children, the over 55. They've been given too much, Look, this is the situation, yeah. White men need to accept that they are not better and deserve more because you are white. This is the reality of it for me. This is the way I see it. Yeah? People with brown skin, yeah, they're not inferior. I believe that racism, I believe it to be a very deep-seated reality that's never gone away and inevitably would show itself the moment the over 55s and homeowner types' free money ran out or their perfect white man village was threatened. That's what it's really all about, people, or young people. That's it. People from abroad now, yeah, they're beginning to settle in the more affluent villages, and it's not appreciated, and it's not the real middle class, the old school middle class, who occupy the big houses in the villages, and I know this because I lived with a girl that was one of them, yeah? It's not them. It's not the real middle class. It's the over 55s and this homeowner type, do you know what I mean? People that have lived for 25 to 35 years on items made and delivered by slaves and young people in latter years. It's got to stop, yeah. Racism, bigotry, homophobia and slavery is disguised and ignored by the people who will lose out from exposing this cruel reality that can only be addressed, yeah, through acceptance that a gay woman is not inferior and an Indian fella wearing a turban is just as capable of fixing your computer as a white man. I don't think people believe that this is the way it is. I really believe that white men feel themselves to be superior. Older white men, I should have said that. I should have made that one clear. The older the white man gets, the worse this becomes. They believe it, mate. You get a 50 or 60-year-old geezer. He genuinely feels that a lesbian is weird and an Indian man is still a packy, really. And I mean, if the truth be known, a black man's still a nigger to most of them, isn't he? He really is at the end of the day. Look, the young people and immigrants actually work all over Britain, yeah, covering professional posts as well as the scummy jobs that you won't do. And I'm talking to the homeowner type. The British judicial and health services, they're absolutely saturated in Indian descent people and are a fundamental part of the infrastructure and the processes that kick in one after the next when you are unwell. The over 55s, they use both these services more than any other group. That's crazy. That's proper out and out ironic, isn't it, at the end of the day? Look, Britain is using first, second and now third generation Indians to keep you alive. And African people, mate, they are absolutely ecstatic to be getting a job putting parking tickets on cars. Do you know what I mean? The East Europeans, yeah, they graft their bollocks off picking vegetables by hand and washing your cars in the freezing cold at the supermarket car park. The car and the money for the service is paid for, and as price increases, it's up the wall, mate. The East Europeans, yeah, them fellas, they're fit, they're handsome, fit and strong, mate. They're gonna benefit. They'll benefit from the hard conditions that they're forced to work in, yeah. Them fellas, yeah, the conditions they're working in now and living in is gonna stand them in good stead for what's about to happen. They've got a much better chance of making it through the situation that is transpiring in front of your very eyes and will kill you eventually. Well, it won't take long. You trust me on that one. You know. So back to the topic, yeah. So what group of immigrants, yeah, do you want to stop coming here? And where does Britain get its doctors and lawyers from? Do you know, the infrastructure. The infrastructure, a constant supply of workers, professional or otherwise, is global now. And a fundamental part of the everyday workings of the modern world. All countries, economies now rely on people from all over the world. The over 55s and homeowner types and racists, they've stuck their two fingers up to the supply of workers that is the backbone of Britain. The immigrants that wanted to be British have been kicked in the teeth. And you trust me on this one, yeah, they will evacuate to another country the very first opportunity they have. And now they've lost their faith in, how can I explain that? Do you know, these immigrants, yeah, throughout the world, there has been this, it's not always envy, but it's a bit of admiration for British people for some reason, you know. There's something that made us really kind of British, and it somehow put us above quite a few nations. And do you know the way I see it? Yeah? I don't believe it was true, yeah. I don't believe it ever was true, but what made a difference was that we believed it. I'm starting to well up, mate, just saying it. We believed it. That's it. And these immigrants, yeah, they just wanted a little piece of that. Do you know, how can a Indian man be proper British? He's always going to be a Paki somewhere in the country, isn't he? Same with a black man, he's going to be a nigger, isn't he? Chinese geezer a chink or a yellow geezer or, people like me, I'm white trader trash, you know what I mean? I'm scum, dull bludger. Do you know what I mean? There's always going to be these arseholes floating about. But the issue is these immigrants have got no reason to stay in now. They relied on that little extra thing, that morality of being British, if you like. It was all bullshit at the end of the day, do you know what I mean? These people, yeah, they just wanted a small piece of what it was to be British. It's as simple as that. So now that's gone. So they will go where their bread is buttered, mate. That's the direction they will head in. The over 55s here, they have failed us and themselves, and they need to be killed off. It's as simple as that. Do you know, I asked you over 55s and you homeowner types, yeah, who's going to do the jobs the immigrants do? Do you believe, yeah, that, what is it, the young people? Are we going to now replace the immigrants with young British slaves? Do you know what I mean? Young white people. Is that what it is? Is that what it is? They smell too much or something, the brown people. Now you've got to have white people being your slave. It ain't going to happen, mate. Do you know what I mean? We are not going to have British born slaves, bred for the sole purpose of serving the over 50s and homotypes. Your day is done. You need to accept it. The over 55s and homotypes, they have chosen to ignore the advice of the politicians who have given them what they have now. Their selfish needs will consequently lead to the death of themselves and thousands of young people who will not be able to afford enough food to keep themselves alive. 80% 80% of young people less than 29 years of age voted to stay in Europe with David Cameron as their Prime Minister. And they don't have that now because of a decision that has been made by the public and not the government. I don't understand it myself. It don't make sense to me. There's something abstract about it. Leaving the EU, yeah? This is another thing, right? Leaving the EU for a referendum was always going to be David Cameron's resignation. No one even seemed to consider that, or the over 55s didn't. They don't consider anything but money, do they? Look, failure to achieve the support from the electorate with such an important decision was always going to be, in reality, asking him or her to leave office. It's as simple as that. The over 55s, they believe they know better, don't they? Well done. Good on you. You've just sort of, you've tied your own rope. You really have. Look, people voted for a government to make decisions about the future of the country, not a part-time school cook. Simple as that. This will lead to Britain's collapse, and it's going to be on the shoulders of the over 55s and homotypes who voted out of racism, basically. They voted because they're racist. I don't understand it, because I don't like everything they have comes from the fact that other people work for less money. It's up the wall. Listen, you are, all of you listening, yeah, you're unable to comprehend the reality that is about to saturate your existence. This fiasco is the trigger of the Third World War. This is irrespective of what you see, hear, or are told now. It all comes about as aftermath. The seeds are now sown. Every next day from now on, you will see a decline in your quality of life, starting with a reduction in the amount of food available and consequent price rises. You will now notice less food on the shelves, and this will escalate to job cuts and companies closing all over Britain. There will be power cuts, water and petrol shortages, leaving people in Britain and then all over Europe starving and dying before your very eyes in a very short period of time. This will lead to a shortage in absolutely everything you use, and influence. Yeah, this is the bit where it gets a bit naughty. Yeah. This will influence people to conduct themselves in ways unimaginable for you and themselves. Simple as that, mate. This will inevitably roll straight into war, born from individual self-gain, racial ignorance and terrorism. This war, yeah, it's going to induce a nuclear winter on the Northern Hemisphere, affecting energy levels in the environment for several years after the bombing stops. Armageddon, yeah, will proactively remove the old way from the planet. Simple as that, and any human who challenges it, mate, you trust me on that one. All life, yeah, that has ever been is calibrated in sync with the mechanical composition of the environment and the consequential levels of energy this produces. The sun and planet Earth were once bigger and have jointly in sync become smaller together as Earth's natural process is intertwined into that of the sun. As the sun and Earth is reducing in size through time, the calibration between energies determines what happens next with regards to all life, and will be affected by a large-scale nuclear winter for a very long time. Whence the pollution reaches a certain level of saturation, vegetative life, it will start to die and continue until the environmental conditions return to a variable that produces energy levels that are conducive to the needs of the life forms that exist now. Young people, you have entered a very dark period of time. This starts happening now, literally 17th of the 7th, 2016. Here's the last day of a master plan that took hold in 1215 with the Magna Carta. You are now living in the new world, literally. Literally, mate. The 808 state has arrived. It arrived in August. That is it, mate. The over 55s and the homeowner type's obsession with themselves has come home to roost. They elected to leave the EU, without any consideration for the consequences on young people. This is going to come back to haunt them. Well, it is right now. September, that's it, mate. Now it's game over. They have forced starvation on their own offspring and countrymen. The global economy, it needs to collapse and has been looking for a trigger for a very long time now, and this is it. The grand collapse of Britain and the world economy has been instigated by the over 55s, the homeowner type, who have done absolutely nothing to address the flow of immigrants that in reality adds numbers to waiting lists of absolutely everything. The over 55s, they've stood by and they've watched the younger generation's working conditions and their housing and quality of life generally just disintegrate, and have totally given up their responsibility for the younger people that come behind them. They don't give a damn. They just don't seem to recognise anyone else's situation. Young people and immigrants live to serve the over 55 and homeowner types. It's as simple as that. Do you know, recorded history has never witnessed the older generations selling out the younger generations in any peoples across the whole planet. So, in reality, let's twist this a little bit. Look, life, young people, this is where you got to start getting a grip. You got to start listening. This is where you got to wake up. Life is not what it seems. All peoples and societies across the whole planet, no exceptions whatsoever, have been set up and are run and controlled in every way from behind a curtain by one entity. This is how it has been for hundreds of years before you existed. Young people born 500 years ago were born into a totally contrived existence just like you. At this moment in time, you need, young people, you need to develop a healthy fear and an open respect for the rulers of this planet. Right? As they can, and they will terminate your existence in a moment just for being no use. There are lists containing the details of the people who are to live and who is to die. And if you want to be removed from the death list, then you need to become a total subordinate to the rulers, supporting their objectives entirely. Now, I understand my words are a little overwhelming. Do you know, okay, look. Why don't you, after listening to this podcast, why don't you stay online and have a look at the children who... First of all, you could look at the kids, the youngsters that have survived bomb blasts and fires. And then you could actually look up some of them having, just after they've had their arms chopped off or their hands chopped off. And or you could. Oh mate, I found this clip the other day. I don't know how I stumbled across it, but there were these fellas probably in their late 40s, 50s, and they had young people. These fellas looked 20ish. They looked young. They looked fit. They had clothes on just like you wear, young people, the same culture if you like. And they were just being shot in the head one at a time, just making them walk up on this jetty over this, just in front of this pond. And this geezer about 50 just standing there, mate. Bang, bullet in the head, in the water, next one. Bang, bullet in the head, in the water, next one. Listen to me now, yeah? The rulers give commands for people to be blown up or killed all the time. They have no issues with killing you. This ain't no joke, mate, yeah? You gotta listen to me. Mayhem is about to ensue, and you will witness the older generations dying en masse, as deserved. Look, supporting what is the new way now may save your life. It's as simple as that. The older generations, they've chosen to separate themselves from the younger generations. They jump ship on their own offspring, yeah? They do not want the burden of us, when in reality they are the burden. And more important, they're the group to be killed off first. Well, it ain't the young people to go first, but that's not you. That's the soldiers. Most of you, well, not most of you, most of you are going to die, that's correct. But, you can save your own life. I'm damn sure of it. With the older generations, what's got to happen is, look, they've chosen to separate themselves. They've never grouped themselves to the younger people, and the only reason they will is when they've got nothing to cling on to no more. That's when they'll say, "Oh, the young people." It's crazy. I find it hard to work out how two or three generations of people can absolutely turn their back on absolutely everything that they came from. The world now, the world that they grew up in, is totally, in every way, different to the world we have now. They haven't played a part in trying to model it in any way. They've just allowed it to happen. So the way I see it, look, the world is about. We're in the war. Well, the war is the culling, right? And if you do not disassociate yourself with the older generations, you're gonna die with them. It's a bit more involved than that. You've really got to get involved. You've got to turn on these old bastards. I turned on them years ago, mate. I hate them, and I want them all dead. They deserve to die. The way I see it, look, they're living off free money that's given you and me, all of us, debt. We got nothing, mate. Absolutely nothing. The young people of Great Britain, look, if the young people were to go out and strike, the country would be on its knees that day. It's the young people of Britain and the immigrants, They are now the backbone of society, delivering to all the other age groups the products and services they need to survive. And yet young people are given absolutely no acknowledgement whatsoever for this fact. The blind commitment and the real-time proactive sacrifice and overall contribution of young people and immigrants to the everyday running of Britain is now a fundamental that if removed would trigger a grand collapse overnight. It's up the wall for me to listen to the nonsense I hear, and I've been asking people just who's voted for what, and you can clearly see the homeowner type in every circumstance. If the over 55's contribution, if it was removed, the young people would fill the void in an instant, as they do in the real world now. Every day of the week, the young people and the immigrants now provide the over 55s, and in reality all British citizens with this guarantee. And this has not been acknowledged or realised by the over 55s and the homeowner type who believe that young people and immigrants exist for the purpose of maintaining their quality of life. Let me make something clear to you, young people. Servitude or slavery is defined by the debt that the younger generations are burdened with. That makes all of us slaves by default. Do you know the way I see it? Wait. The way I see it, yeah, when I was living in an hostel starving, yeah, literally, yeah, more or less that was irrelevant to me, you know. More or less that it's irrelevant to poverty and starvation. Get that in your head, young people. Seriously, that's where we're at right now. That's the reality. Simple as that. Fuck the debt, mate. Bollocks to it. Right now, it's about starvation. That's what it's about, because that's what's going to be thrust on you. All sorts of stuff will be on all of us. That's for sure. Well, not me, because I'm going to make sure I get on the good side or dead it up, mate. I ain't having it. Fuck that. I ain't living through that shit. Nuclear winter? Nah, ain't for me, mate. I ain't having any of that. I'd rather just die than live through that. So, you know, young people, listen, right? If you are not directly connected to Freemasons, if you are not a Freemason family, then you are fighting for your life. It's as simple as that. This planet was imprisoned centuries ago. You need to accept reality and accept it that the planet was taken over centuries ago. And if you can accept it and just agree to shun it into the past, that's what you've got to do. That's what you got to do. I ain't breastfeeding you. I just tell you the way it is, mate. If you ain't willing, you're the one that needs to acclimatise, because otherwise you're going to be fucking crying in the corner as soon as it happens, aren't you? You got to accept it, mate. Do as I tell you and you may survive. It's as simple as that. Look, everyone's longevity and good health is poisoned by ancient, intricate methods and design, and some are given back their life in bits relative to their usefulness or worth. It's the way it is. It don't matter whether you like it or not. It's as simple as that. The rulers supply you with your quality of life, not the over 55s or homeowner types. Accept reality, support it, and you may make it through. Young people, you need to separate yourselves from the over 55s and other types of unappreciated groups, and you can do this by creating your own group in order to get your dissatisfaction heard. And in doing that, you will separate yourself from the Walking Dead, the over 55s and homeowner types. These people, yeah, they're obsessed with property. Do you know like property and the property in crisis, the free money bit, yeah? This was a 35-year spring-loaded self-destruct button that is about to switch off, leaving them in a situation that they are unprepared for. And furthermore, they have upset just about every financial institution and country in the world. Look, the American Federal Bank here, young people, listen, you hear that, the American Fed, yeah, it's the American Federal Bank here. It runs the world's money system, and the world's money system's fake. So they dish it out. They dish out the numbers. It's as simple as that, yeah? And they are not happy with this turnout, and they will be, or they are, proactively seeking to punish the older generations for biting the hand that feeds them. Do you know, look, the cruel, paradoxical reality is that the over 55s and homeowner types are the main group to be culled. Everything about their existence, from start to finish, it's a old world, mate. Their old world. It's as simple as that. Their day's done. The older generations, they've served their purpose honourably. And now they are no use whatsoever, and consequently they will be eliminated. It's as simple as that, mate. Trust me, this is in hand. It's all in the aftermath, mate. The seeds have been sown. Their recent behaviour, if you like, and conduct, it proves them to be unable to consider the greater good. They stand to serve their own selfish needs, only forcing the younger generations to disassociate in an attempt to try and save your own life, as they're about to be called people. They really are. You've got to get in your head. You've got to start opening your eyes. You really have. Your survival is reliant on you being physically militant and unwavering in your support for the new way and letting go of the past. This situation is an opportunity that cannot be missed, as the alternative is your death. This is reality. This is reality. You just got to accept it. That's all you got to do at this stage. That's your first step, is to accept it. I am able to answer many unanswered questions relating to planet Earth and how people actually work. And yet I'm sitting there, spending every waking hour trying to save my own life. To realise, I realise that I have to make myself useful or a problem. It's as simple as that. I cannot find anyone to accept delivery of my work, and this is reality, mate. Hold on. 2 years ago, I supplied some information, and it gave me an insight into how light works and a consequent understanding of how the genostrand interacts with the environment and how that information is physically stored real time, ready to produce new life forms when needed. Now, I've generated a report called 5 Factors Formulations that explains this process, proving that no new life forms will ever be created as a direct consequence of synthesized man-made carbon production, leaving genetically modified food a fundamental element of the future. And have sent part 1 of that report to the rulers of the planet, care of David Cameron. Part 2 of the report explains how the electrical impulses are created in a humanoid, what happens when they enter the brain, and how human consciousness is created, what happens to energy in the brain at death, how light bodies work, and why the brain is constructed the way it is. Look, I understand how people on the planet work, how the moon got there, how the deserts were formed, why the pyramids are shaped as they are and what they do. I understand and can explain consciousness and how it is created, what happens to the energy in the human at death, and how light bodies work. I can explain how the electrical impulses are generated in a humanoid and exactly what they do. I know how the large blocks of antiquity were cut, and the reason for Stonehenge's existence. I understand the magic number, how the sun works and can prove to you in moments that you have no memory and that light doesn't travel. Diesel and petrol engines, fridges, cookers, cameras, combination words, central heating, computers, music systems, electricity, binary code, nuclear energy, and these are all creations that derive from the knowledge and understanding of light and relative energy creating processes. Look, in order to create or invent a process, humans have to physically see and recognize it first and can only recreate. You could not Excellent. You could not find one invention or creation that has not come about as a consequence of a person actually seeing and recognising that process, either directly or as part of another process somewhere in the natural world. And so, inventions that have been sold to you as new discoveries not known before now are designed and created in order to kill you and disguise the truth about light. Nothing a human invents is made from scratch. It's all the processes and parts exist here already. All inventions and every part come from what was and is here already. It's as simple as that, mate. The explosion in an engine block is recognised in volcanic activity and consequent material hardening. However, the process that creates the energy can only be seen within the understanding of light and relative processes. An engine block, yeah, say it 3 times. An engine block and explosion is 2 observations, and the process that creates the energy that is to explode is another, and it is called enlightenment. The rulers have used the understanding of light synthesized in man-made replica inventions to reduce the longevity of people and replace the information that humanoids receive from the natural world through their senses. And this is exactly what influences humans into their next moment. The processes of planet Earth proves history to be fake, and that humanoids lived in the place that particular strand originated from and recognized and knew that all peoples came from the same forefathers and mothers. Humanoids, they settled on the equator and did not originate from there. All life that exists on the equator now derives from the same place as the very first humans. The equator was seeded, and I can prove it. The first humans, oh, that fucking tobacco, I can't get this at my normal tobacco because they're trying to kill everyone, and this tobacco's making me cough. I need me spliff. That's what it's done to my voice, mate. Oh, mate. The first humans, they had translucent hair that would have appeared to be very white. Their top layer of skin being thin and also very white in appearance, and in some circumstances appearing to be bluish, and they were big, strong and very intelligent. Their knowledge and understanding was used to build all the pyramids and giant palaces, the dams, the granite-lined canals, the aqueducts, and elaborate underground dwellings. They decorated everywhere, inside and out, with intricate detail and remarkable precision. They had a thorough understanding of how humans work, and this is what you call art. Artistic designs and structures, and absolutely anything artistic come in the aftermath of that person creating the art, understanding naturally what is beautiful to a human being. The forefathers and mothers, they actually understood how and why this information that you call art is that to a human being. Humanoids appreciating art is appreciating something that actually stimulates you through your anatomy and makes you feel good physically and is a tangible feeling. This understanding and the geometry of planet Earth is intertwined into the construction of absolutely everything they created. These are the forefathers and mothers of all humanoids on planet Earth and seem to be gods for obvious reasons. Look, from the originals came 4 strains of humanoid that were all constructed relative to longitude and their environment. The original's design is the calibration for all humans on planet Earth. The humanoid physical diversity variable is relative to its physical construction, longitude, and the rules that govern all life on planet Earth, the magic number. Light skins white people originate from the northern hemisphere and start big and tall and with grey-blue eyes. The height and physiques reducing the more central to Earth you are, and change relative to the sun's influence on that part of the planet. Light skins, commonly known as white people or devil people, are first generation descendants of the originals and are one of 4 strands created by the originals and are on the cusp of extinction. Every strand has a spectrum of change that can and does occur real time and overnight. This process starts to transpire the moment you visit a different environment, and without this variable, people would not be able to relocate as changing or physical acclimatization is real time and is triggered by the humanoid anatomy being unable to acquire correct levels of energy through the new or changed environment. Breathing quicker, a suntan, or sleeping more than normal is the same variable of possible real-time change and will at some point trigger a physical change. If the humanoid's real-time variation variable is unable to deliver the correct levels of energy to sustain a healthy person. There are recognisable variations of a humanoid still in existence that show the relationship between physical characteristics, the magic number and longitude. A physical, a tangible, recognisable change relative to the new environment or a new environment constitutes a new generation within any particular strand. African, old Pakindian, Indian and Pakistani, or Aborigine, Chinese and light skins were new strands indians constructed relative to their environment and also contains some variations. Indians, Pakistanis, Arabs and peoples from the Middle East and North Africa are the white people just mentioned and were herded there in chains as children and forced to start from fresh fucking tobacco. Shit, it's cramping my throat up. All the carcinogenics in it. Oh, mate. Oh yeah, they were forced there as children and forced to start from fresh and stripped of all knowledge and past and have changed relative to the environmental conditions they are living in now. These people, yeah, they've gone through a process of change and were selected humanoids of a certain type, as there are very few types of humanoids within any particular strand or version, being a variation of the light-skinned descendants indicates a more recent exodus. These are second generation descendants and have first generation descendants intertwined into their gene pool through the network of Luciferians that run the world, the ruling classes. Pakistan borders China, yet these two peoples have a totally different physicality in every way. The Pakistani and Indian people are light skins taken to India to replace the original strand and probably the people responsible for the ancient monuments of antiquity that exist in India and Pakistan today. North American Indians, these people are clearly a variation of the direct descendant light skins, white people, and are second generation descendants, just like Indians, Pakistanis, and the peoples from the Middle East and North Africa. All the second generation descendants have undergone a change relative to the environment. The anatomy itself has changed to compensate for the differences between the environment they was in and are now. It can be seen in skin, hair, and physique having become smaller and lighter framed. Many of the second generation descendants from all over India, Pakistan, Middle East, North Africa and North America have developed larger noses in order to supply the anatomy and the brain with the correct amount of oxygen, and in some cases has pushed the possibilities of variation to an absolute extreme, creating a bend in the nose bone in order to create a large enough reservoir of oxygen. The shape of a humanoid nose is fundamentally relative to any particular strand or version and the place it came from. With a bigger nose, there's a larger opening for oxygen to get through and to exist in. So the moment the humanoid starts breathing, slightly more oxygen is available instantly, enabling people with big round noses to move quicker and sooner than people with smaller noses. Humanoids' noses will reduce in size in order to restrict oxygen also when the circumstances are relevant. The mechanical composition of the environment and the human is relative to the dimensions of the space needed in order to supply that particular strand of humanoid with the correct measurement of oxygen the moment you start breathing. There is just a little bit more to this. However, I would be killed for telling you so. Look, the way this is, if you're permitted to listen to this, then I truly believe you should be grateful, because this podcast, by the time I finished at least, this podcast is the closest to the truth you will ever get. I promise you that, mate. I absolutely promise you that. Right, so moving on. So I've got a dodgy stomach. Excellent. When I was young, I was quite well known in South East London in England, But I was known for being a nigger lover. Everyone knew. Just like, it's mad looking back really now. Do you know, at 5 years of age, and all through my youth and into my teens, I experienced a level of racism and alienation from adults that I will never forgive, mate. I won't ever forget it. Never, mate. It provides me, with reality as regards to humanoids and their self-destructive illness, human parasite disorder, grown adults, being racist towards children. That's unacceptable, mate. Do you know what I mean? So, I am proud to deliver this information, and I can back it up with coherent, logical explanation. I can prove it. It's as simple as that, And I can also got a bad stomach. The Egyptians of old were taken over approximately 4,400 to 5,500 years ago by the first generation descendants from the north of the Mediterranean after crust movement caused localized flooding on a massive scale, and affecting all the land on both sides of the Mediterranean and the Red Sea, and would have displaced sea temporarily in all coastlines bordering the Indian and Atlantic Oceans. True black history, wait for it. True black history, say it 3 times. True black history starts with the Aztecs of South America and ends with the Egyptians of old, and Egypt, the country, its footprint and name, have absolutely no connection whatsoever to the black humanoids who actually lived and existed on a strip of coastline in that vicinity for tens of thousands of years and expanded to there, creating a black root of civilisation that physically evolved and adapted relative to the ice ages and natural movement of the land, and started well over 70,000 years ago, originating from black humanoids who were many times bigger. Black people, they are direct first generation descendants of the originals and have an abundance of variations relative to the place they were herded to. African people were the first new strand of humanoid and are direct descendants of the originals, and went on to become the Aztecs and expanded over thousands of years to the location that is now North Africa, and went on to become the Egyptians several ice ages later. This is where the biblical stories of God making man in his own image originates. Jesus Christ is a metaphor for the black man, mate. Seriously, oh mate, it's amazing stuff. The very first black the very first black baby came directly from a large, beautiful white woman with long white hair and big, intelligent, sparkly grey eyes, mate. Now, it's also realistic that they came from first generation descendants, but it's more realistic that they come directly from the originals, as I will go on to explain. The original humanoids settled in a location that is very central to planet Earth and that vicinity, and branched out from there. One of those locations was near to what is now North Africa. Its proximity being more relative then, as the land has moved. I am unable to tell you where they settled first and whether precisely, and whether they spread out immediately or later, and when the first black babies were created. The story of Moses is to cover up the planetary takeover and the attempted escape of what was the original first generation of black people. These people were running away from a hostile takeover. And the biblical sea retreating stories, they can be explained. I can explain that, not a problem. I'll be killed, but I can explain it. Look, murdering the sons and bloodlines of all the original families and replacing them with the weaker members who are bought off secretly prior to each individual takeover, trained as Freemasons in the master plan. It's as simple as that, mate. It's the way they do business. Counterintelligence, elimination and replacement. It's the same thing, mate, over and over again. All the biblical stories, mate. So, for example, all the biblical stories, no exceptions, are cunning deceptions created to cover up the truth. The planet is saturated in evidence of the true past in tangible formats, and are kept from you through borders. And this is the reason they were created. China has over 300 pyramids. And St. Petersburg in Russia is the most important place on planet Earth, containing tangible evidence that larger humanoids, academically and physically superior to the versions or types alive today, actually existed. Again, I can prove it. Pictures and literature is disguised with religion. The Christian cross is the best example, being relative to the original light-skinned first generations. All the symbols that you see all over the world were all related to the original humanoids. It's as simple as that, and no better way to cover up the truth than just to lay a story of myth and magic over the top of the truth. And that's exactly what's happened. Everyone knew the symbols, what the symbols were, so they had to create just a total new story. And as generations roll into the next, this fake story that's taught to the children forcibly just becomes the norm. Look, based on the evidence that I have, it is highly probable that black people descend from the Aztecs. There is no of our traceable path. I can trace the Egyptians all the way back to the Aztecs, and I'm damn sure if I was permitted to show you that path and explain how that path existed, then you would agree. I'm damn sure. You're just going to have to trust me. Most black people living today are direct first generation descendants of the Aztecs, and they include the Egyptians, who are a variation rather than a new strand, and existed alongside their forefathers, who were the larger humanoids that actually gave birth to smaller versions and were hunted and killed for the master plan. This reality supports the fact that the black strand expanded to Egypt and lived there for a long time prior, and that the Egyptian Moses story is to cover up planet Earth's first case of mass murder, or genocide as you call it. This word was created to cover up the harshness of the reality that is nothing less than mass murder. And the biblical murdering son story is why we do not have Egyptian descendants anywhere on planet Earth, and the reason we have no records of larger humanoids as they are or were all hunted to extinction and eradicated from history to protect the lies rolled out to convince you that black people evolved from monkeys and that white people actually designed and wore stilts in order to be able to walk through feces without getting any on their feet, rather than like agree to do it turd in the corner. Some Africans may have changed or descended from white first generation descendants of now, just like the replacer people of the Middle East and Big India. At some point, the originals gave birth to the black people who lived in that vicinity through several ice ages and for thousands of years, being forced away temporarily by the Great Flood and returned after the water subsided. Black people had been living in the Egypt area and vicinity for tens of thousands of years before the main pyramid at Giza was built. There are numerous dwellings and evidence of black civilization under the sands in that area, and also evidence of larger buildings alongside smaller, and being the reason they will not allow any scientists or academics access. The main pyramid at Giza, and pyramids generally, and all the other buildings that leave historians baffled, were built by the originals and their descendants, and who were the builders of all technically advanced buildings and structures throughout the whole of this planet, including Egypt. Satellites have scanned under the sands of Egypt and have found the foundations to thousands of settlements that indicate advanced engineering on a massive scale, proving that black people actually dominated that part of the world until the Great Flood. The originals, they are the calibration of all humanoids, and from them came 4 strands. The physicality of each relevant to longitude. Each strand, occupies a segment of longitude and will be tangibly influenced by the different recipe of energy that any other segment of longitude provides and delivers real time, causing unavoidable physical changes to take place relative. All other strands will be influenced accordingly when residing in a different segment of origin. Africa now occupies one complete segment and half of 2 of the other segments from the remaining 3. The original humanoid colour, the origins of humanoid colour and physicality are subtle. I will try to simplify this because it is a simple thing. It's only me that'll make it difficult for explanation. The first human beings had translucent hair that would have appeared to be very white. Their skin very thin and relative to the place they come from, and also very white in appearance, and would have, in some cases, appeared blue. Simple as that. Very big, very strong, very intelligent, really unbelievably, and their size is relative to intelligence, which maybe at a later date I might be able to explain it. You never know. Anyway, it's definitely a fact that larger human beings are more intelligent, and that's why you have the stuff you have now. It's not because of humans inventing it or creating it now, it's because of humans in the past who were more intelligent. Look, moving not on back to where my head was, that if you travel, or as you travel south down the planet from the top, humanoids' physicality changes specifically relative to that location and its proximity to the sun. So we start with grey blue eyes, fair skin and hair through to blonde. As you move south, the eyes become bluer, sometimes green, hair changes to black, and the height reduces. Moving south, the eyes change to brown and the hair remains black. The physique reduces in overall size or mass, and the nose increases in size, delivering a slightly smaller frame, slimmer humanoid. And this allows for a slight increase in height relative to the previous variation. Moving south, we enter onto a longitude that is now the location of the Mediterranean. This is important and amusing, interesting. It's many things. We moved down to what would be the Mediterranean, and being a sea, it removes this particular location specifically from this map as land. When I say map, human diversity, colour, physicality map, as land is fundamentally relevant, right, to any physical change that takes place. Now, North Africa, it falls into a different zone to the rest of Africa, moving across, bear with me, as you move across the Mediterranean, south, down the planet, we end up on the shores of North Africa, better way of explaining it, providing us with a fascinating reality and categorical proof that the pharaohs were a variation of black humanoid that changed relative to longitude, otherwise they would be smaller. China is on the same longitude as the Mediterranean, providing us with tangible information relative to that particular longitude and the consequential physical attributes it dictates. Ultimately, providing us with the last piece of the puzzle in the map of humanoid colour and physicality. The Chinese, they descend directly from the originals or first generation descendants of the originals who were white. And this is why Chinese people look as they do. They are a new strand that came from a light-skinned humanoid that has changed relative to longitude and consequential climate conditions. The Egyptians, if the Egyptians came from the Chinese, like considering it as a possibility, if the Egyptians came from the Chinese, then they would be slightly smaller. A life form can only hold the information and real-time experiences relative to its own size variable, and can only have experiences and store knowledge relative to its own size or smaller, leaving humanoids unable to deliver new life forms that are bigger than that particular strand or type variable permits. The longitude of the first generation descendants produced on both northern and southern hemispheres by the originals is the calibration for all descending generations. Black people evolved from the other direction, and right at the point they would have started to produce Chinese type humanoids, we hit the Mediterranean, protecting all future Africans from a crazy obsession and addiction to karaoke and table tennis. White people arrived on the equator and consequently a longitude that produces Aboriginal and African type humanoids and unable to produce any other type. And the black strand actually expanded towards what is now North Africa. Over several ice ages, humanoids and all life generally produce smaller new versions as to guarantee a sufficient supply of the correct recipe of chemicals that are individually relative to any possible eventuality or particular design. Cold temperatures consequently produce a humanoid that is taller, carrying more natural body fat and consequently bigger and a heavier humanoid all round, and warm temperatures produce a faster, slimmer, lighter framed humanoid. Yet Africans, in some circumstances, they almost match the size of the first generation descendants who are from colder climates. The original light-skinned descendants are the calibration for the northern hemisphere and would have produced a slightly smaller humanoid the more south you go, purely because the hotter climate alone dictates it. A small-framed, light-skinned humanoid with brown eyes and black hair is very few changes away from Chinese looking, and the design of white person from the southern hemisphere or north side of the Mediterranean, Italy, just come on. You know what I mean? Is there much difference? So the Chinese obviously is the next change from this small, petite, brown-eyed, black-haired, white or light-skinned humanoid from north of the Mediterranean and south, the bottom of southern Europe, if you like. The next change is obviously the Chinese. It's not. Look at it. Take a look, mate. Look, if the Egyptians descended from the Chinese strand, they'd be smaller. In overall mass, if you like. This is a feasible reality, but not the case, as black people are bigger. Proving that black people originated from a different strand to Chinese people. And the same applies to white humanoids of more recent years who have gradually evolved to be smaller and very different to their forefathers and mothers, proving that black people evolved on what was the equator at the time and are first generation descendants, traceable all the way back to the originals, the humanoids that were seen to be gods on earth. The pharaohs or Egyptians of old are a variation of the black strand, and black people up until today have remained variations rather than a new type that would constitute a new generation, or they are a new strand that came from the same strand that is with us today. That's fascinating. That defies belief to the Egyptians, yeah. The Egyptians really, look, this is feasible. The Egyptians they did. They come from black people, yeah, because they were living there, but they've been killed off, died off, but the black people that produced them are the same type that's alive today, mate. So the black people alive today, that strand, gave birth to the Egyptians, mate. That's something to be proud of, black people. It really is. I'm welling up, so I've got to move on. Oh, mate, that's something to be proud of. It really is. The history's nonsense. Your history, mate. You're the only people with history now. There's no white history no more. Black history is the only history we have. Your history goes from the Aztecs. It goes right from the beginning up to the Egyptians, and then we start a fake history. How ironic is that? Look, the females, yeah. This is nice. I think this is brilliant. What I'm going to explain now. The females, yeah, they give birth to the new changed version, leaving a whole generation of fathers to care for children of a different type or version of themselves. Adoption is the natural way for humanoid fathers and cannot be avoided. Mad. White men raised the first generation of black people over 100,000 years ago. I am proud and genuinely sorry to share that with you. Any longitude of any place on Earth and that location's relativity to the sun is the information used by the genostrand to produce a new version of humanoid. I understand how planet and light works, and I can consequently, I can prove without any doubt whatsoever that black people are indigenous to what is now South America, North and Northeast Africa, and lived alongside the first generation descendants who gave birth to them, and they never crossbred. respecting the fact that the genome strand responded to the differences in the environment that the originals came from, and the equator, proved by the fact that we would all be somewhere between white and black, or at least most of us would. And I was born with blue eyes and blonde hair. North American Indians, yeah, they were originally first generation descendants that ran away to escape the planetary takeover, and the South Americans, they may have been put there as they appear to be a variation of a strand that originated on a different longitude, or much like the North American Indians attempted to escape the takeover. This could have been by land or sea. And the monuments in South America, many other places throughout the world, have no relative connection to the peoples who live there now whatsoever. And the people in South America were put there without any doubt whatsoever. You look, the people in South America, yeah, apparently they just forgot their own history. No one had been near them for donkey's years, and then they had no history. That don't make sense. Look, if you live into the next moment, right? If you live into the next moment, you can't avoid having history. So the people of South America, they go back to a place where they're saying, me not know where I learned to be a human, sort of thing, because you have to have a history to know how to be a human. This is what they've taken away from people. They've started them from scratch all over the place. It's commonplace for this to happen. The people of South America are Chinese people. They've come from a different longitude. The black people, they built all that stuff in South America. And what's even more amazing, is the categorical fact that the Aztecs, these were bigger. So the humans that are the size of humans now are the ones that built them pyramids, etc. in South America. So this suggests that the African civilizations, I won't call it an empire because I can explain more, and I can explain, which is going to surprise lots of people, I can explain and prove that the blacker a person is, the more spiritual they are. So they weren't a fighting peoples, you've been made to look like that. So because these pyramids, because I'm going to move on after this, because the pyramids in South America are, well, I've not been there, but I'm presuming that they are the size relative to us now. And if that be the case, then the civilization that started from there and worked its way right across Africa, all the way to the other side, mate, to Egypt, was all humans our size. And that would suggest that their existence was reasonably concurrent with each other. So that empire could have literally stretched all the way from South America all the way to Egypt. Now, I find that fascinating. That distance across Africa, that's got to be like 10 times the size of England or Britain. It's fascinating, mate. It really is. Anyway, right, I'm going to move on. I think maybe I could say a bit more. Look, a bit more I could say, I suppose. The rulers, they do not fight any battles they cannot win, and believe that death and destruction to be a means to an end. The people ran away to the only place. These are first generation descendants that would have come from Russia, across the Bering Straits. And these were people that ran away to what was the only place. North America was the only place on planet Earth that provided a safe haven. North America is extremely difficult to attack and to get to with an army to attack. It's the only safe place. It was the only safe place left to live, and this is why all the indigenous Red Indians of North America, who were in reality first generation descendants who escaped the planetary takeover, they moved to the only place that would have eventually been cut off from the rest of the world, and probably made up of a conglomeration of people from all over the planet that were running away. And may have included black people at that time, many, many moons ago. Just anyone lost and bewildered, looking for somewhere to go, trying to find some way of moving, settling in a place that they couldn't be found. Live in peace. And they actually reached the promised land. North America was the promised land. They reached it, mate, only to be hunted down, mass murdered to extinction by their own kind, unaware that they were killing their own ancestors when they killed the Indians. I didn't really make myself very clear there. The Bering Straits, it's all moved. It was easier to cross in those days, but it's got more difficult to cross. I believe it's reopened again now. Don't quote me on that. So the Red Indians this is fascinating for me. The Red Indians, let me have a little lug of that to get my head around explaining that. The Red Indians, of North America were mass murdered because they were the truth and had to be killed off in one hit. And 1776 was about killing the men that killed the Indians and killing the men that killed the men that killed the Indians by the men that killed the Indians. 1776, Look, what I just explained here is toy soldiers. That's why no one knows how to play toy soldiers, because that's how you play it. Toy soldiers is about taking the resources that you have and destroying and killing all of the soldiers on both sides. It's teamwork. It's about killing you. What's happening now will be created and planned and worked out through toy soldiers. This process has been used for centuries to keep the population to a manageable level so that the new world of that time could be created and rolled out, sorted. The American Indians, they have no solid structures and were nomadic en masse of millions. They originated in Russia and escaped to North America through the Bering Straits to what was the Promised Land, up until the Luciferians removed them and all their tangible connections to true history. The wigwam design, it derives from a level of intelligence that far exceeds the ability needed to live the way the North Americans did, the North American Indians. They were actually advanced in the absolute extreme, creating a way of life and culture that provides them the ability to leave any particular location at any given moment. Wigwams resemble roundhouses and pyramids and derive from the same knowledge, and their nomadic, unsettled type way of life or existence is the result of the planetary takeover. The disproportionately large structures that are situated in many places throughout the planet were occupied by people that existed many ice ages ago. Their individual location, land movement, and consequential damage that occurs through passing ice ages will determine whether people could continue living in these structures and whether people tens of thousands of years later were still able to make use of them. Their locations, or the whole area, leaving realistic connections to any peoples living there now or since construction inconclusive. It's as simple as that. I understand how light works, and this is understanding life itself. And yet no one is interested. Do you know, young people, you ever listen to me now? Right, I'll go on for a bit, yeah. Right, sidetracking, sort of, but I'm not. Right, there is no infrastructure in place that officially accepts the theorizations and conclusions of academics that are not in a state university or state-sponsored or backed establishment. The state, through universities, is total closed door carte blanche on discoveries and the truth, and consequently reality. I'm distraught, mate. Seriously, you would think my understanding and knowledge would provide me with a good quality of life. Do you know what I mean? In a world that was genuine, I'd be a billionaire. I can tell you where to look for free energy. I know how to get free energy. It just goes on and on. You know, I'd be given a Nobel Peace Prize on fucking knighted, mate. I'd be Sir Peter Anthony. Dude, listen, I discovered a plan that has been genetically engineering all human beings in every way possible across the whole planet since 1066 and can prove it. So the rulers, right, this is mad, yeah, the rulers, they're totally aware of what I know, and are confident they could prevent me sharing delicate information with the public. You know, absolutely, yeah. Everything you see or hear is by their permission, no exceptions. You know, if you're fortunate enough to hear this, then they have permitted it, and in my case, signifies support. The rulers are legal dictators now and demand respect. There is no other way. Really ain't. For you or me. That was the point. So ultimately, I believe I'll receive my due rewards for keeping my mouth shut. Or I will be killed. Simple as that. You know, this podcast, is playing with the big boys, so I'm not messing about with you there. It's not an Hollywood film, you know what I mean? I need to make myself crystal clear to you. You know, there is no second chance at this level. One mistake and I'm dead. The rulers, they know me and exactly what level of understanding I have. I'm not joking with you yet right now. I guarantee that the individuals who are aware of me know more about me than I know about myself. The same goes for you. I mean, they know what clothes you was wearing like 9 years ago on a fucking Friday afternoon. Seriously, they know who you went out with last, what music you was listening to. Do you know this stuff about yourself? These people, they know everything. It's as simple as that, you know. I will I will tell you the way it is, and you need really to accept it or die. It's as simple as that. Young people, the only way for you to guarantee making it through the human slaughterhouse is to make yourselves worth something to the rulers, and the first step is to officially agree to support the new way. This is not a war. It's a culling or removing of the worthless people from planet Earth. Accepting this reality may save your life. Trust me, yeah. It may do. I reckon it will. The world is run and controlled in its entirety by the 7/7 group that consists of 7 groups, each containing 7 groups that own everything through law. Each group controls an element of reality. For example, now, listen, I made this up, yeah? There's only so many groups, that's the issue. So even, it doesn't matter, you can make it up yourself. But yeah, you can. Right, this is global, obviously, the whole planet. Like I say, I made this up. So there's 7 groups that contain 7 groups. So for example, in group number 1, there will be 7 groups, and number 2, 7 groups, number 3, 7 groups, and so on, right? So in group number 1, we'll cover, say, pharmaceuticals and health, and everything to do with health. Say number 2 would be land, and mineral assets, and again, absolutely everything to do with it, right across the planet. Number 3, entertainment. Now, entertainment, this covers politics, news, weather, radio, television, theatre, books, internet, music, and sport, all in its entirety. Everything, all of it. They're all actors, and that's their job, but they're actors. Every form of culture and type or form of music has been constructed from scratch in order to manipulate people. So anyway, leave it at that. 3. We move on to 4. 4, the money system and banking. Look, the money system is totally fake, just like gold. Rolled out to take over trade. You do not need gold to swap potatoes for tomatoes, and people do not need anything until it breaks or wears out. Now, your genuine needs are but few. Tables and chairs and beds, etc., last a lifetime, literally, and this is why trade needs to be owned outright in order to maintain utter control of humans, as there is no need for the products that are now a fundamental or are now fundamental to your way of life. These items, you lust after, have no relevance to keeping you alive. But you need them. And you need them to the degree that you now live for the consumables that have been used like a carrot in front of a donkey, influencing you into your next moment, physically teasing you step by fucking literal step to your death, blinded, by a false sense of security that like a good life is anal sex on Facebook. Got a bit personal there, didn't I? A bit excited. Right, let's move on to number 5. Would be, say, war. And all the hardware relating to it. I mean, this group here, this would include the police, law, 6, food, 7, technology. So that's it, there you go. How simple is that? That's the whole world that's all the industry, that's everything. 7 groups of 7, that's it. It's all, it's just, yeah, that's the way it's laid down. It's so very simple. It's complicated because they chuck a gazillion names at you. Like within each group, yeah, are the corporations and then the companies and then the brands that you know of in subgroups. All with like an abundance of different names to convince you they're all independent. For example, yeah, in reality, all the car companies, no exceptions, are in the same group. And that would be technology. Remember, yeah, I made these groups up as an example. Moving on, in reality, in conclusion, there are 2 truths, and that's the real truth and your truth being relative to the group and groups you are in. The public are fed news relative to their location and purpose, and different to the news fed to the public elsewhere, be it locally, countrywide or global. You need to open your eyes, young people, you really do, and you need to, young people generally need to make themselves a part of the reason for the changes that are about to take place. History needs to see young people, their future, and the future of the planet as the guiding star. You need to challenge the problem before it becomes a problem, and provide the solution to the problem before it is seen to be needed. The new world is going to happen whether you like it or not. Confronting it will mean your death. Supporting it, you may survive. I suggest that young people present the state with a declaration of change. At some point, the AI state will be forced to show their hand and roll out the new rules. Supporting the implementation of the new rules in the aftermath of the problem is so very different to demanding those same rules be implemented before the problem occurs. Knowing what the problems are going to be is knowing the game of servitude, and this is everyone's reality globally, and now you have the opportunity to benefit from the moment, just like the over 55s done. Young people, you need to flip reality to benefit yourselves. A declaration of change, petitioning the state to address the needs of Britain, laying down clear-cut demands that deal with the issues at hand would be a good start in making yourselves worth something and beneficial to your longevity. I absolutely promise you, you ain't got none at the moment. It's as simple as that. 2020, that is the objective, and these rules that I'm about to go through, these are just some rules again made up, but I know these rules that I'm going to talk about will be rolled out by 2020. The rules will imminently become policy by 2020. There is nothing you can do about what I'm going to tell you will happen next. Nothing. These rules will be rolled out. So this is where you've got to get a grip, yeah? You just got. I don't know what word to use for it. The word corrupt is not relevant. Because you got. It's you got to acclimatise. You really have. So anyway, let me just crunch through these rules and see how much I say. I have to see. So number one, what's definitely going to happen in the future? How can I summarise that? Children. Sorted. Children will be by application. The right to have children, it's gone. Leave it behind. Like babies now, yeah, they're totally genetically modified. This makes them hard work. The chemicals, yeah, that are now forced into babies and children by law, it influences their behaviour, mate. They're changing relative to the chemicals. They're genuinely feeling rough. And this is real time, you know, look. The state is taking ownership of children. And young people. They're paying off their parents, but they own the young people. They own the children now. You trust me. You do not have a say in anything related to your offspring and are bound by law to be responsible for adhering to the decisions that are made by other people, leaving children a fucking burden. The niceness of having children is gone, mate. Just leave it behind you. Look, they're about to roll out an educational package. What is it called? Is it the Shanghai or Shanghai method, I believe? What this educational system is that what happens in this method, in this system, is that every child has to be taught the same. So no matter how bright or intelligent your child is, the child at the top has to wait for the child right at the bottom. It's as simple as that. So, look, children and all people exist for the sole purpose of serving the state. You know, only an arsehole would produce a child for that reason. Having children is no longer a free right, and most definitely not what it used to be. If you listen to me, then maybe you might be able to get yourself in a situation where you can have a child in a more normal way of life, but you've got to work for that first. That's not going to come easy, you trust me. Number two, anyway, I'm going to move on. It's vaccinations. This is going to be law irrespective of what you believe or want in reality and what will control population. These vaccinations are also the key to survival for the right people. This is what keep you alive as well, trust me. So they're going to be forced on you by law. And three is going to be the eradication of man-made synthesized carbon production, period. There's, I've said it earlier on, I believe, no new life forms will ever be created because of it. It needs to be eradicated, simple as that. So number four, jobs and homes. In the future, you're going to be given a job and a home relative to your usefulness. I think that is a breath of fresh air for me. You can stick whatever name on me you want. I couldn't give a flying fuck at the end of the day, mate. I'm seeing unorthodox, unbalanced people driving about in Range Rovers with like untold asses. This is not the way it should be, mate. Your commitment to the state, and I mean that, and to other people. If you do something that other people, that many people get use out of or appreciate, then you deserve more. A doctor deserves more than someone delivering extension leads for Amazon. That's the way it is. It's commitment, conviction and contribution will provide you with your quality of life in the future. And I agree with that. Do you know, I stand to benefit because I've got a brain. So for the first time in my life, if I manage to stay alive, well, I'm going to stay alive. Well, no, maybe not. Who knows? If I manage to stay alive, then I'll have a good job. Don't you worry about that. So everyone is on benefits now. If you get to live on the other side, you're better off. Because you just get a chance just to change instantly. You go, fuck that, I'm not being a benefit wanker anymore. You just do a job, wouldn't you? Because you're going to get everything for nothing. If you survive, if people survive, right? If you look, when all this is over, your job will be given to you, your home will be given to you, but also there's some real good benefits from that. Just about everything you own, they want you to be tracked everywhere, don't they? So your TV, your phone, that's all going to be handed to you for nothing. And when you get a good job on the other side, you'll be given your car, your clothes, fridge, holidays, the whole fucking shebang. It's all going to be one package. You just work for the state and you get it. It's as simple as that. You can call it a credit system. The job you got will be categorically relative to all that stuff. But stuff like flat screen TVs, that's going to be compulsory. So anyway, moving on, 5, private property ownership, that's going to be eradicated, right, and all that. So I can't wait for that. At the moment, contrary to what you believe, as I said a moment ago, the land is owned by the 7/7 group or the state. It's the same thing. And now the rulers want to eradicate private property ownership. That's what they're going to do. Good, I'm glad I agree with it, yeah. And they'll do this through property tax, and it's going to be extremely popular for the over 55s. It really is, and difficult for the state to roll out. However, if young people actually create a policy and demand it be implemented, it would be much appreciated. And this is where your head's got to be. You got to use what you got. It's not whether you like it. You use it to keep you alive. You don't have to like something to use it to keep you alive, do you? Does that make sense? If it don't, then you're a fucking twat. In the event, that young people supported the eradication of individual property ownership through declaration of change or mass, a system that provides people with property relative to their contribution, the state would be rewarding. You trust me on that one. All of this stuff, you supported them on it, because the time's going to come where they'll need support. Look, you would be creating real history and appeasing your rulers at the same time. You've got to get your head into gear. You've got to do a bit of brown nosing here. You really proactive brown nosing. That's about the fucking strength of it. Young people, would play a part in creating their own future for the first time in recorded history, just by demanding these things. You've demanded it. History showed that you've demanded it. Genetically modified food too. The older people, they can afford vegetables. We can't. Do you know what I mean? So you've just got to agree to genetically modified food. It's being rolled out. It's needed. The future of all life on planet Earth is reliant on Monsanto developing genetically modified food for all animals. As man-made carbon, the levels prevent any new life forms being created. That's as simple as that. The vegetation is now unable to produce new life forms relative to natural climate change, leaving all animals with no food in the future. It's as simple as that. Monsanto, they may have to deliver food pellets and substitutes to giraffes and monkeys by helicopter. As long as it had white leather seats in the front, it'd be all good, You know what I mean? Number 7, that's going to be paper money. That is the eradication of paper money and the rolling out of a digital credit-based system. It's going to happen soon. Once again, you just support it because it's going to happen. There is no money and never has been. It's all about permission. Your life, is a credit system based on property ownership, and without it supporting your credit rating, you are extremely limited. You ain't worth a cup of cold piss without it, are you? Let's be real. As it stands, we have several generations of older people that will be reassessed under the new system based on their contribution. This will free up the state to deliver acknowledgement and respect and physical tangible rewards for any work done from the new way on. Remember that. It's like a gold rush. This is an opportunity. And number 8, forever. It's weird, isn't it? We'll go for one world government. It's inevitable. It's what's happening. I reckon I could do a complete podcast just justifying that. I may do. There are potential wars, just waiting to happen all over the planet over natural resources like water. The River Nile is on the cusp of creating massive problems through individual countries taking advantage of their geographical location, diverting water in order to create electricity, forcing other peoples further down the river into starvation through water shortages. Everyone loves Africa and the Nile. I mean, it almost feels like it belongs to all of us, and it does, in my opinion. And like, we can prevent the problems that will inevitably occur. I'll say it again, inevitably occur with a one world government. It's simple as that, mate. We need to attack the mentality that is destroying this planet, and the only way to do that is to kill everyone. Just kill everyone who is not naturally willing to put the needs of the planet first. This is Luciferianism for me, mate. This is what it's all about. Without any doubt, that's exactly what it is, putting the planet first. I'm getting tired, but we'll crack on. Number 9, get on this one, They're going to frack the fuck out of everything. You trust me, right? Now, this needs to be supported. This might be the decider on who supports what I'm saying and who doesn't. But to your own peril, be it, so be it, like whatever the whole statement is. You will die if you don't support all these. You've got to believe me, I'm getting tired. Fracking will be legalised in every circumstance by law. The British economy is now relying on fracking. When the war subsides, the rulers, they will not give back any quality of life whatsoever until you agree to allow them to frack when and where they want. Simple as that. Fracking is not inevitable, it's imminent. From your perspective, there is nothing you can do to affect the master plan. And so, need to manipulate reality to benefit yourself, just like the over 55s and the homeowner types. The moment your brain realises that your quality of life hangs off the back of supporting the new way, you will naturally support it and believe it to be the right way for yourself and the global community. I do. I totally believe it. So anyway, on to number 10. Gosh, I'm talking shit. Right, on to number 10, 24-hour surveillance. It's going to be a by law. I might support it. This is what you have now. Your car keys are trackable. The street lights have cameras on them. And in many cases, purchasing the telly is a contract that allows the 7/7 group to turn on the camera and microphone at will 24 hours a day. It's as simple as that. So look, Joe, there's a few more to go into this little group. That's 10 of them, Now, if young people en masse in one recognised group demand this to be implemented through petition, this would deliver to the state a solid foundation of support that would benefit their objectives in many ways and would most definitely be rewarded. I'm so very sure of that. Look, young people, this is the way it works. Life is not what it seems, you know what I mean? You have to make yourselves useful. This is a window of opportunity for all young people that have a brain. You need to be in front of this wave when it crashes down on society, and supporting the new way now will provide the state with the first wave of intelligent, educated, voluntary workers, this would be priceless for them. And furthermore, being proactively militant towards racists and bigots and anti-frackers would please the rulers to no end and deliver you to straight to the bottom of their toolbox. That's where you need to be, mate. You need to be a tool. You need to be of use, a defined usefulness, categoric. When that is needed, that's the tool you get at. That's where you need to be. As simple as that. Once young people become useful, you become worth something and will not be discarded by the rulers. I absolutely promise you that. You stay focused, yeah. You're gonna die. Yeah, it's as simple as that. So you have to get your head around what I'm saying. The only way to live is my way. It's as simple as that. Young people need to confront the forces that threaten the state in one member-based group. It does not matter whether you agree with any policy or not. It's irrelevant. You support it if you want to live. Get it in your head. This is how you flip reality to benefit yourself. As at the moment, you are a worthless piece of shit and you will be cold. Reality. It's not spontaneous, yeah? It is of consequence. And so, yeah, it's a byproduct of what has happened already by way of plan. You know, being or becoming part of the plan or that plan is paramount for survival. There will be young people, yeah. Look, there will be young people who lived in the old world and will live in the new. You've got to be one of them. You've got to make yourself one of them. The master plan, you cannot avoid the transitional period. If you are young and want to stay alive, this is the place you need to be, mate. Trust me on that one. I am genuinely serious when I say that if funds become available, I will exit this Britain, mate, with young people. I will seek my own death through divulgence. Do you know, there's over 100 countries, that enter the Olympics, and they're clearly reasonably established with all their news reports on the television. All of them containing weather reports are totally fake. The weather system is absolutely nothing like what people understand it to be. The movement of the planet, or planet Earth, and the limitations of your sight prevent you from seeing what is really happening. The rulers, they have taken over the laws of the universe, replacing the natural processes and people with processes that are outside the influence of the natural rules of life, and consequently leaves humanity in need of constant management and control globally in order to prevent a grand collapse of all life on planet Earth. The future of life itself is now the responsibility of the rulers. This factoid is irreversible. All life can only move into the next moment. The physical past should not be relevant. Under the New World's rules, the past governs the future as it is planned. You need to make yourself the transition generation. Simple as that, mate. This is a window of opportunity that you need to climb through, mate. Freedom is a fight for servitude. Jumping ship, Look, the old people, the over 55s, jumping ship on free money. Jumping ship on the world that gave the over 55s free money is jumping ship on the free money. Both of them things go together. Simple as that. You can't separate them. That's absurd. The over 55s will be shocked to find out what it is like to live in the world they created without free money. These toe rags, they will make themselves victims right up until the point that they realise that no one is listening, and then they will scream that it's all about the young people after 35 years of consciously ignoring absolutely everything for free money. The homotype has no idea how to survive with no free money and will show their true colours the moment they have to go without. These people, I was going to call them toe rags, these people obtain their quality of life through the young people and immigrants who are forced into serving the older generations and homotype who are confused as to where and how they obtain their quality of life. They seem to live under a false sense of security over the value of their property and the consequential hierarchical leverage that owning a three-bedroom terraced house delivers. The whole positive equity world has gone to their head. They individually and collectively believe themselves to be of entrepreneurial value relative to the positive equity in their house or houses. As simple as that, mate. The over 55s sold the younger generations that come behind them for a free life, but did not read the small print, mate. It's only for 35 years. And now these selfish bastards, have to answer to the young people, and more important, the rulers who are coming to pick up their payment. Their free life was bought with us, the younger generations. They genuinely believed their free life would be forever. And it was not. The deal was for 35 years. 1984 happened in 1984. Or at least, or at least it did for the children who left school then and after, like me. Normality has been taken away so many times over. People now, 800 years on, have no way of knowing what is normal. Make the most of it. So young people, normal, normal is your next moment, never forget it, The over 55, they sold us to the rulers, and the rulers have then replaced them with us under new rules in front of their very eyes. This has been happening for years, and now they serve no use and are a burden that will be eliminated. Trust me. They're on the shit list, mate. They're quite high up it as well. You old people, the over 55s, you're like dogs. You lack the intelligence to know when to say enough is enough. Maybe someone else would like some too. Do you know what I mean? It's too late. It's too late, mate. It's too late. It's too late. It's too late. You are gonna die. Good riddance. Life is a funny thing, young people, listen, you trust me on that one, I've been round the houses more than once. In fact, I've been lost round the houses more times than I can remember, mate. You do get a little bit wise. You pick things up along the way, and they're metaphorical and little sayings and that in your head, but you just see things and you realise things, and you don't get long enough really to take them skills and that wisdom and use it. So you got to listen. You got to listen, mate. Look, life, yeah. This is what I'm trying to say. This is what I learned the hard way, right? Life is it's a funny thing, yeah. The moment everything changes for you for the good, the past becomes irrelevant to you. And the moment your life starts to fall apart, the past becomes all that is relevant as it governs the future then. The over 55s and homeowner types have always relied on the money made on property price increases from the past. They have no skills to carry them into the new world and must be left to face their own demise. Young people, this is your time, yeah? You have to make yourselves part of the master plan. When property started increasing, the older generations turned into selfish, spoiled children whose only concern was to buy more property and make more money. Do you know, I was there. I witnessed a level of greed that petrified anyone who was not able to buy a property. And there was loads of us. Remember, I was there. At the time, yeah, the older generations opted for the progress cliche. Just one word, you know. It's evolved now into the I worked hard for my house. If this was said at the time, yeah, like years ago, people would have confronted that aggressively. The older people, yeah, have been in work for a few years. They're the ones that got the mortgages. And some of my friends, yeah, they got mortgages. People in built-up places like London who come from decent families, and I mean decent working-class families. They were able to get their foot on the ladder without a doubt, and some of them just slipped through the net. But that's about it. There's people all over the place. They weren't given the mortgages out as the older people had got. You had to be established to get a mortgage then. Do you know, when I was in my teenage years, the general public couldn't even get a loan from the bank. Younger people don't realise this. I've not got grey hair. Do you know what I mean? You're just talking about, I'm 48, yeah? And when I was a teenager, so what's that, a 30 odd year? If you got a loan from the bank, being from the general public and not Oxbridge, then you had to put up the other half of the money. It's a nightmare, do you know what I mean? It's, it's reality, but it's reality that don't matter now. It's the past, it's gone. Present and future is all that matters to you. Yeah, something that is often on my mind, yeah, right? This hard work that the over 55s are always going on about, where is it? We work, they preach it. We've got 35 to 50 years of people preaching that they worked hard. But I don't know where it is. What you mean you built your own house? You built the roads that you drive on? So, in reality, yeah, they built blocks of flats so that brown people could be brought over here. Alright, that's a reality. It's as simple as that. They built the blocks of flats to bring the immigrants in that they don't want in there. That's hilarious. See, younger people don't mind immigrants, but we don't. I mean, I put myself into the young person's group. My last girlfriend, her name was Sarita. I lived with her. Got out of bed in the morning with a package, you know what I mean? You can't be racist, can you? If you get out of bed in the morning with a girl's named Sarita. Do you know what I mean? See, we don't care. That stuff is normal to us. Racism and bigotry and homophobia, well, it's just something that's odd to us. And it's not odd to them. They will do and say whatever. Look, put the piece of paper in front of them and say, sign it and house prices will go up, and they'll masturbate over it, do you know what I mean? On top of signing it, just to make sure, like, do you know, look, our lives, and existence it's a direct consequence of their property obsession. The over 55s, they dictate how much rent we pay as they own the property we rent. It's hilarious. It's that up the wall, mate, that it's hilarious. Do you know, in 10 years, young people, in 10 years, housing benefit paid private landlords, or the money paid to private landlords in 10 years has doubled to what is now £9 billion a year. This is the state's debt to the over 55s and homeowner types every year. You having a giggle, mate? Do you know what I mean? These selfish toe rags are the ones that take the majority of the young people's wages. That's mad, Young people should demand a property tax to be paid, and that the past 22 years of tax evasion and moonlighting be investigated, and that shares in the perpetrator's property be taken in payment. It's as simple as that, mate. Private landlord rent in most circumstances, plural, goes straight into their private bank account, mate. Do you know what I mean? And they choose not to inform the tax office that they are trading it, and this is a legal requirement, and no tax is ever paid. There's loads of people, they're all doing it. The majority of them have been doing it, mate. They have 2 or 3 houses, or even one. Why are you going to tell the tax man? Well, you don't, do you? But that's what they don't, that's for sure. It's the attitude they got. We've got to put a stop to it, mate. We really have. Many private landlords have other jobs, and on top of these renting out properties, and so have extra untaxed income, meaning they pay less tax on every pound than you. I actually think that that's a little bit unfair, don't you? You know, I want to go to the toilet and I can't cut this because it's one file, if that makes any sense. It's a dictaphone, so I've not got any software. So here we go, toilet. Real quick, mate. This is real. Right, sorry about that. I want to make a cup of tea while there's enough water in there, and got to make a cup of tea. I'm sorry, but like I say, I'm recording this on a dictaphone, so I have no editing facility, so I just got to do it in one go, so you'll have to bear with me on a cup of tea. You can hear the kettle sleeping where I've done it, isn't it? Right, I've got to get a spliff going quickly, I am sorry. I'm sure you understand. A lot of talking I've just done. Right, what can I move on to next? I know what I'll move on to quickly. Let me see, because I've got some notes in there floating about. That's what I'm referring to as notes. And just waffle off the back. I know what I'll talk about next. Just bear with me. Wait me a sec. I'm going to be a couple of minutes. Fucking tobacco. Oh, mate, that's rough, even with a filter. God, mate. Gotta just get untold packets of pipe tobacco. Oh, that's rough. I tell you something, Wilders, that's what I talk to you, yeah? You got 3 weeks, yeah, and that's it. And then you're gonna have to kill me. After that, it's over. Like, I start telling them the truth. And I won't tell them about certain things. I won't tell them about the numbers and all that, but I will. I'll do whatever it takes to get me killed. I ain't having it, mate. And all this poisoning, is it levosomol or whatever it fucking is, you know what I mean? This poisoning, it's nonsense. I ain't having it no more. Yeah, you still will die, innit? Shake me hand and support me, or support me in some way, same fucking thing, innit? Or kill me. Simple as that, mate. I've had enough. I'm at the place I'm ready to die, so just... You can shoot me from across... Look, do you know, like, my house? You know this already. You can shoot me from Lark Hill. You could fire a mortar from Bulford. That'd be quite funny, wouldn't it? To be taken out by a mortar from Bulford. That'd be excellent. Bit of luck, you take out the other wankers on the estate too. Horrible place. I'm nearly there, people. It's gonna make me cough to fuck this is. It really is. I'm not sure really if I'm allowed to swear, am I? Am I allowed to swear on YouTube? Sorry YouTube if I've sworn. It is part of my culture. When it comes to me, young people, they don't need no reason to take it down. They'll take it down or leave it up there just because they want to. It's as simple as that. They own and run everything, mate. It's as simple as that. Bear with us, I'm nearly there. It's going to kill my throat, I just know it is. bear with me. Alright. Right, the rulers. Yeah, they believe. Sorry about that. Right, the rulers, yeah, they believe in the dark side and the light side. So, what is it? So I'm confused as to the Luciferian belief system as the energy in a humanoid brain will leave the body when the network of neuron tunnels in the brain is conducive to this. For many years now, the rulers and all the Luciferians, they've been artificially stimulating neuron activity in their brains, consequently producing a fully developed neuron network that is superior in every way to the average person and will leave their body at death rather than dissipate as you will. Increased neuron activity influenced by the serum rather than the environment is false and reliant on the serum. The neuron activity that comes about as a direct consequence of ingestion relies on the serum's energy. The frontline user, their persona, increased ability and fake gravitas will return to normal once using stops and return them, the user, to the unnoticed, uncoordinated, inferior humanoid most of you were born to be, I'm afraid. You're the meek. Most Luciferians, are unaware that they will most definitely leave their body when they die, uninfluenced by the human shell, and will move across to start their life as a light body that is unconfined by the humanoid shell, that is merely feeding the light body in preparation. You are a light body that is intertwined into the physicality of a humanoid and are the children or seeds of light bodies. The ruling classes and their extended families are now like gods on earth to you. And you're no use whatsoever, you really are not. The older generations, they've chosen to sell their purpose and yours. This is your reason for being. You exist to serve no other purpose. The rulers have now achieved their objective. There's no use for you whatsoever. If you can't make it across as a light body, what use are you? What is your reason for being? Why should you exist still? Look, I lost my train of thought. Let's move on. Right, look, you can only survive as a subordinate. There is no way of stopping them, and survival is by way of conviction and commitment to whatever they want. Commitment and sacrifice and proactively adapting voluntarily overnight will put you exactly where you need to be. Young people who are not in a Freemason family, you've got to get involved a little, you really have. I mean, turning up on at marches and events to challenge opponents of the state over racism, etc. It's just a fundamental now, and this is going to happen. You're gonna have these situations occur, and where the state would be grateful of support. And that's where the young people need to be. They need to just support the state categorically, and then you might get yourself off the death list. Look, young people in one large group, you could rise up to become the first multi-sexed and racial group of its kind, whose sole purpose would be to address intolerance and the damage that humans are doing to the planet. Do you know, I believe this could save your life and the planet. And to be honest with you, I think it's the only way you're going to save your life. I truly believe that. The only way you can save your own life is by forming a group that supports the state. And the only way I can save my own life is by trying to get you to form a group that supports the state. And for me, it's a bit different. Just attempting it, I reckon that'd be enough. Like I'm doing now. Like humanoids, yeah, moving on, are fundamentally selfish and get their needs met through pleasing other humans. This reality is part of your body makeup and what physically influences you into your next moment, literally. Humanoids, humanoids do not slither on the ground, spin webs or build nests in trees for their offspring. You are a humanoid and unable to be any other species. Your humanoid brain can be or do nothing but drive you to be the species you are. Your intelligence is irrespective, as a huge part of your brain literally is totally geared towards humanity and should not be able to avoid taking responsibility for your offspring or any humans that have any relevance to you whatsoever. This starts at acknowledging people or neighbours and ends up at your children. Again, I can prove this with basic, understandable explanation. All humanoids on planet Earth are now on a self-destruct path, having removed themselves from the natural processes of humans. Right, from now on, I'm just going to say what comes into my head until I run out of things to say or notes to refer to or to prompt me in one direction or t'other. Yeah? Right. It's important for the culling of mankind to start soon, be over by 2020. The elements that make up the environment and consequently energies that derive from it will need time to return to normal or at least acceptable variables conducive to supporting the life forms that exist now. The future of all natural life is relying on humans eradicating the production of synthesized man-made carbon. The combustion engine has to go. I mean, this issue alone is enough to start a third world war. The over 55s and homeowner type will have great difficulty accepting anything that affects their quality of life and are unable to assess any situation as mature adults because they're not. They're spoiled, grown-up children who have pushed their luck to the point of their own demise and are now a suicide cult. Young people, you need to accept reality and share the servitude and be grateful for being permitted to live. The rulers, via the state, has always provided people with a quality of life based on their commitment and contribution to the master plan, irrespective of whether they realise it or not. Realising reality and spontaneously acclimatising is your ticket to freedom through servitude. I will. Wait a minute. It's nice. That is so nice. Oh, I love it. The tea, mate. Be a cup of tea. Oh, split on a cup of tea. I will break down the reality of the over 55's quality of life growing up on free money in a podcast, maybe late September 2016. In May 2016, just 3 months ago, I started to see energy reacting in particles in the natural environment, and consequently can now see the sun cooking clouds and exactly what happens to chemical trails that are being sprayed out the plains. Right? It's not just seeing light, it's seeing the process that it delivers. I can see the particles, it's worth listening. I will enjoy putting together that podcast. I will not enjoy putting together the rest. And if I get supported by the end of September, I will drop out Chemical Trails Reality, if you like. The Chemical Trails Reality. I'll drop out anything they want me to, they support me. My objective is to help young people and save my own life. Is to get away from fucking England or Britain. Get away from it, take as many young people as I can if I can pull that off. If I can't pull it off, then the other alternative is death, right? Anyway. I'll explain exactly what I'm seeing. I will explain what I'm seeing. I will not be explaining how light works, just what I'm seeing in a following or the following podcast. I'd like that to be the next one. At the moment it may have to be the over 55s. We'll see. I'm waffling now. In July 2014, I had some real abstract dreams. They educated me, I had 7 dreams in 7 days, and I come out the other side understanding how people on the planet work, and then I'm having things like being able to see energy all of a sudden now. Well, I'll share that with you, unless my silver account is filled up to the brim with lots of silver, and I get my exhibition bus, camper thing, 6-wheel drive minimum. I'll do anything after that. I don't actually want to put stuff up. I wish I didn't have to, but I've got no choice. If I want to achieve my objective, I'm going to have to put a bit of work in, a bit of sacrifice. I've got to do stuff I don't want to do. I'm doing stuff I don't want to do right now. Anyway, I will put... let me get some notes from somewhere. I will put together a talk detailing the Luciferians' efforts to remove 3 dimensions from humanoids and explain the disastrous consequences. I truly hope that we do not have to arrive at this place. This really is putting my own life on the line, and I really do hope that I get my financial support and that we do not have to go there, or at least arrive at this place. This is my death, but I will do this if need be. I will break down the 950 years of Luciferian master plan to remodel humanoids through genetic modification and physical restriction of all the natural processes, and all that is normal, and I will explain in detail the true objective of each individual process replaced, and explain the reasoning behind every course of action taken over the past 950 years. Every product or item in your possession has an abstract reason for being, or behind it, its existence. I'm sure I've got an itch. Everything in your life, no exceptions, is new, and it's two-dimensional, being designed to replace the three-dimensional world. And I will explain why humans have been forced out of the sun to live in a period of the day that is asleep, and consequently defying the laws of the natural way in the universe. You know, all life, is designed and created based on information collected previously and relative to the anatomy of the parents and the natural environment, and has this information, it's been replaced with fake information supplied in two-dimensional formats with no relativity to the natural environment, supported by plastic food containing mostly sugar and carbohydrates and lacking the correct vitamins and minerals for natural growth, leaving humans physically and mentally inferior to what they should be, and reducing the average person's lifespan to half, and now forced out of the sun into a troll-like state. This is a reality. This is the tip of the iceberg. I do not want to deliver this type of information, and I hope, and hopefully, I will not be forced to contract my own death. I really hope the rulers support me somehow. I do. That's for sure. Anyway, I would like to deliver a few more talks. This is a bit long, this one. But there's several reasons here, several objectives. I understand that younger people, you're not less intelligent. You're not taught to be able to take information in massive, great bouts or chunks. And I was explaining to a young person last week, Gary Tesco, I chat to, and I was explaining to her that, first of all, that you often you hear older people. I'm sidetracking to say what. Often you hear older people slagging off youngsters on their phones for using their phones because they're destroying the English language, or that's one of them. And reality. You just got to look at stuff logically. I was telling this young person, I was saying, but look, you're talking to me now. I'm 48. And she's 19, this young bird. I said, you're 19, yeah? And I'm 48. And you're talking to me, I'm an adult, you're a youngster. We're talking normal. So you're talking to me about, you could talk to me about absolutely anything and I'd understand, and I could talk to her about anything and she'd understand. But I'll tell you something, mate, she gave me her phone, I wouldn't have a clue what is being said on it through text messages. So in reality, young people have actually got a wider vocabulary. They've got more words to use, so they're learning more by using phone slang, and this transpires in many ways. As regards to memory, I was trying to explain that with a young person, you're better off putting together, rather than 1 2-hour slot or 2-hour talk, you're better off putting together 10 small podcasts of 10 minutes ago sort of thing. Their system's used to getting up, walking about, making a cup of tea, sitting back down. So it's 10 minutes of time, and it's just a different way of learning. I'm not sure why I drifted onto that. But yeah, maybe it was because I said I'd like to do a few more talks, and this is particularly long and difficult for young people to take in, and that's who it's designed for. So I will chop this up at some point. This is going to get chopped up. I don't mind taking stuff down, which I may have to do. We'll see in the next few weeks whether they kill me or not, really. So I will also, I'll provide enough information to prove that man-made synthesized carbon production needs to be eradicated globally entirely, and that supporting genetically modified food is the only safety net for all life. Period. As man-made carbon production on any level prevents the vegetation changing relative to the climate, and consequently will die off with natural climate change, and that is every next moment in existence. Climate's always changing. Life itself now need Monsanto, and I can prove it. They hold the key to the longevity of all life on Earth, as the time will come when the vegetation is no longer able to produce the same plant life it did yesterday. As the weather will change, as it does real time, continuously, leaving the vegetation in an environment unsuited and unable to obtain the correct information needed to instruct change, as the environment is saturated with abstract levels of man-made synthesized carbon, leaving the vegetation starved of the correct relative information that is fundamental to the reproduction of all new life forms. Do you believe that the vegetation can produce life designed for an environment that does not exist? How can that happen? The trigger or switch that instructs the creation of new life is obviously related to the combination and mixture of elements and energies in planet Earth and the environment itself. So how can that switch or instruction be realized if the environment is corrupted with abstract amounts of carbon? If this combination is irrelevant, then what information is used to produce new life forms relative to the natural climate or natural climate changes that take place on planet Earth real time? What information do they use? It's not a free-for-all. That's it. Information needs to be used in order to produce new life forms. What is it? Where does it get it from? Where does it get the proper information from if it's fucking not there now? The proper information is not there anymore to be taken or to be got. Where do you get it from? Where does the plants, where does the animals, us, where do we get it from to produce new, different human beings? It's over, mate. It's too late. And the people to blame are the over 55s. They've obscured the natural way, they really have. That's another podcast. Right, nature, like taking the amount of carbon it needs, leaves us with this or these absurd questions. For me, I believe for everyone, there is no need for scientific explanation in order to realise that carbon levels are fundamentally relative to the production of all new life forms. That's what you're constructed of, not some other things, but not much. If the formulations that makes up the environment is not conducive, no new life forms relative to the natural world will be created. The surplus amount of carbon ultimately corrupts natural levels and prevents new life forms from being created. It's as simple as that, mate. It's logical stuff. It's obvious. Look, I'd rather eat genetically modified potatoes and Linda McCartney sausages than crushed plastic and fucking powdered chemicals mixed together and formed into whatever shape and colour you want. Do you know, like, imagine being in a restaurant, you know, like Howard Sir, like his potatoes, I'll have them in the shape of an iPhone, please. That's where you're at. That's, oh, mate. Funny life. For me, mate, I'm not sure how long I'm not gonna last as it goes. And I see two sentences in one there. I'm running out of content. Hopefully something will come into my... There's a couple of things I ain't spoke about so far, which... One thing I'm gonna cover. TV. Yeah, TV. Right, what I do first is I identify myself because I may be killed, then you'll know it's me for definite. My name is Peter Anthony Benstead and I was born on the 30th of January 1968. I am entered into the register of births under 336, witnessed on the 5th of February. From hospital I went to live in 33E on the 3rd floor in Lewis Trust Buildings in Campbell District, SE5. I actually went to live at 60B for a few days, 2 weeks first. The 30th of January, 68, it's an important date to the Freemasons. It makes up the magic number. The concubines, the females, the evil men, consequently need to be seeded in the Luciferian month of May. The master plan is intertwined with astrotheology and the understanding of light and life, and in reality is all three in one. The Lewis Trust, strange old setup that was. The Lewis Trust itself, it was set up by entrepreneurialism for the master plan and was saturated in Freemasons. People who lived there were from Freemason families or families that descended from them or have in the past been connected or relative. People were chosen to live in the Lewis Trust buildings. Black people were not permitted on the grounds. Mad one when I was a child. Mad one. Right, the master plan, moving on. Looking for more content here. I'm searching content. The master plan is it's that of self-destruction in absolutely every circumstance. The rulers are attacking the production of light bodies and are on the cusp of totally destroying the conjurer that enables humans to develop a worthy structure of neuron tunnels in the brain capable of producing a light body that can exist outside of the human shell. Planet Earth is a planet of the utmost importance, producing light bodies that go on to exist for thousands of years, and some look after this universe, and they live here alongside you in the same place, literally. And I can explain this because I've met 3 of them. Excellent. Their existence is a normality that was taken away in 1066. In every circumstance, the Luciferians eradicated everyone except the children, raising it to be exactly what they wanted, in total control of the new group of the same people, with the weaker members in control through permission to own and control the food through permission to own the land, all managed globally by the Vatican, who descend from the original Luciferians and are in the process of crumbling. I'm looking for content bad. My head's looking for it. I'll get there in the genocide. Yeah, he's eradicating peoples who have a connection or hold the truth about the past intertwined into their existence, culture, or past your recorded history. I'm licking sentences forever. Your recorded history is the place the rulers are taking you to. Humans are being taken back to the future. That's what the film means. Backwards to the future. I wouldn't mind seeing the film again. All the films, they're constantly referring to what they're doing, what's happening right now. But that one I think is amusing, where he gets out of the car. Remember this? He gets out of the car and he just says it's going to rain in a minute, and it starts to rain. And this is before people were up to speed with what's coming out the backs of the planes, like. In conclusion, just so you know where I'm at, so you know the truth. The ancestors of the rulers, they wiped out over 100,000 years of global civilization and all the knowledge that went with it. So as for you being scientific, you ain't got a clue, mate. You really ain't. This is quite an important one. This will help them. Because this is really upsetting me now. It's in front of me now. It's affecting me all the time. Look, inaudible sound is being sent to everyone. The type of sound and what it does is relative to your group and place you live. That is a byproduct of the group you're in, right? The sound, it determines your state of mind and longevity. Literally, I can break it down and explain it, mate, but we'll wait and see. I don't want to push the curve too far. This stuff anyway, they'll kill me if I try to explain it. I know they will, they'll take me out somehow. So I'll just wait for them to contact me, hopefully. If the world we have in front of us is as a consequence of free trade, then why is it that absolutely everything in your world comes from the state? Think about it, yeah? The roads, traffic and street lights and sewers, the drains, all the houses. Do you know something? All the houses everywhere, throughout the whole of Britain, the state paid for them. Always, in every circumstance. And before the state, it was the lords, ladies and gentlemen. It was the people who robbed the originals. They have the resources, and the men make the house, but they have the resources, don't they? So the state has owned and built everything. So where was I at? I say schools, I said houses. I said schools, hospitals, you've got universities, you've got doctors' surgeries, local authority buildings, you've got dentists and fucking waterworks and electricity and gas and the phone network and the army and the air force and the police and what else? The fire brigade, the navy, just all the hardware they have. You've got the network, the motorway network, you've got the judicial service, you've got nuclear power stations. If all of this, if all of these things comes from tax taken from profit, then there should be some tangible evidence of the progress that delivered the profit, that delivered the tax to make and create all this. But it's not there, young people. And this is what you've got to believe. This is why you've got to turn on the over 55s, because this is all nonsense. Let's try and summarise it again. Let's just bear with me. Right, look. You believe this stuff listed, the stuff I just mentioned here, you believe that the stuff I just mentioned comes from free enterprise and provides the profit that provides the tax to build and create the stuff just listed. Do you understand that what's happened is, since World War II, since the 50s, you started in reverse. You started with money. They didn't start with no money and build economies. They started with no money and just printed it off. So they started with money rather than build money through profit. It was all flipped on its head. And that's exactly what they're doing now. It's all one big cheat. There's no such thing as money. The debt alone, if you try to work out the debt alone, like, is it America, was it 18 trillion, or is Britain 1.5 trillion now? Well, if you work out the debt, there's no situation in place that can produce enough profit to have that amount of debt. And another way of doing it, if you take everyone that's lived in Britain since World War II, if you just do a generalised wage income for everyone, and you can do this with today's rates, you know, say everyone's on 10, 20 grand, now you can go over the top so much. People after the war, say they're on 20 grand a year, and when you add them all up, it doesn't come to no, there's no profit there. The numbers don't work, people. They just don't work. I'm not going to go on about it much more, especially after this podcast. I don't want no part of it. I'm only trying to convince you that you need to get off your ass and you need to get a bit proactive. And the best way is to know the truth about the way you've been cheated. It's as simple as that, you know. There is, you know, what stuff was sold to get the tax to build the world? That's a better way of saying it. I think I said it better that time. What stuff was sold to get the tax to build all them things I just mentioned? You know, the over 55s wages comes from slavery, and this is why they need to die. It's as simple as that, you know. Who gave people the money to buy the cars and televisions in the 60s and 70s? Do you remember World War II? Yeah, late 40s, 1945, 50, by the time they get back on their feet. 10 years later, we got 1960s, and then, like, we're talking, what, 20 odd years, yeah? They built a world with no money, and then they went into recession, the 70s. You might have heard about that yourself. So then they just printed a load more. It's just like, it's nonsense, mate. That the slaves in places like India, Pakistan and Africa and China and all these places, the slaves just build the stuff and make the stuff and that, and the state globally just hands it out to certain people. What they've been doing, they've been handing it out to all the meek people. That's what they've done. And this is why humans really, I reckon, will implode, because there's no stopping people that have got stuff unnaturally. They don't know how to stop. There's no natural process in being given loads of stuff for nothing. You're not in a process. You can't dictate what you will get next, like in one moment to the next. So there's no pattern or process that you can call life, and that will lead to implosion eventually. So anyway, there is nothing substantial to make profit from. It's as simple as that. The rulers, they just command the state to commission X, Y, and Z, and they pay for the products made by slaves. That's the way it is. This is the global money system and free trade, young people. Listen to me. It really is. It's all lies. Once you look, you've got to believe it's lies. Then you're going to think, well, hold on. If it's lies, then I can just lie about how I feel. And then before you know it, as soon as you start benefiting, that's it. You believe it. What I say to you, right? What I'll say, right? Let me ask you this question, right? Young people listening, yeah. If you were categorically convinced that what I say is true and most definitely going to happen, would your response to my talk be any different to what it is now? Because you obviously don't believe that everyone's going to be killed off, right? So let's just say you was them two options. Now, at the moment, it's entertainment. This is nothing more than entertainment. Probably quite bored of it by now. But them two options, right? Entertainment, interesting stuff to listen to, at least some of it. But it's getting quite boring now. Right. And the other alternative is if you were categorically convinced that what I say is true and most definitely going to happen, what would your response be? If you really believed me, if you knew in your heart, in every part of your being that people were going to die, or they're going to be poisoned, there's going to be radiation everywhere, what would your answer be? What would your response be? Slavery now to pay off the over 55s and homeowner types quality of life. It's as simple as that. All slaves throughout the world, throughout the whole world, have a quality of life that directly relates to the free money for some. There is no other reason for slavery. I prefer honest servitude. The slavery abroad and at home in shops and restaurants, etc., maintains the homeowner's quality of life by removing them and their way of life. We address equality and free money in an instant, sorted, just like that. We can start to address the discomfort of living in war and slavery now. The sooner we move over to a one world government, the sooner slavery and injustices of the world end. Your younger people have absolutely nothing to do with the problems of this world and were born into it. It's our right to attempt to address the problems that the over 55s and homeowner types have caused through consciously living off their own children and people in other countries. The over 55 and homeowners stand to lose from equality and honest hard workers. They have lived off others' discomfort and misery for the whole of their lives. Well, at least up until now. The people that grew up after the war have left the younger people that come behind them a totally upside down world. The next 4 years, the next 4 years will decide the fate of all humanoids.